All right, y'all. Major escalation. So we talked yesterday about Biden's decision to supply Ukraine with American weapons, missiles specifically, in order to attack Russia. And this is the first time that he's approved any such thing in 2 years. Obviously, I don't know what they were expecting. Obviously, there was going to be a response. There was going to be escalation. That response, what we saw shortly after, was that Putin reworked the laws in Russia, which I mean, this dude, it seems like he can just change whatever he wants to change whenever he wants to change it at this point. Why even have laws? But he essentially said, yo, we have the right now to attack using nuclear weapons pretty much whenever we want. And that was a major response. Then Putin and Russia, they literally took the longest missile in the world, a missile that is typically exclusively used to carry nuclear warheads, and they sent a few of those missiles to Ukraine. Now, the difference being that these missiles that they sent into Ukraine did not have nuclear warheads attached to them. Otherwise, obviously, we'd be having a much different conversation, right? But nonetheless, I think Russia is showing that they are very capable of essentially doing whatever they want to do in terms of their ability to devastate. There's really no limits. There's really no limits. So I'm almost at a loss for words, and I don't want to make this too scary and freak people out too much, but the fact of the matter is, this was extremely irresponsible to escalate to this scale right before Trump gets into office. It's extremely irresponsible, especially given the fact that the majority of America expressed that they want to see a peaceful resolution take place. And now you are making it even harder to have a peaceful resolution by escalating at this current point in time as you're literally out the door. It's crazy. Now, I wanted to play this video. This is from Sky News, and they did a report speaking about the nuclear capabilities of Russia in comparison to the nuclear capabilities of the United States. And essentially, you know, Russia, from a nuclear standpoint, they have more nuclear weapons. They're more strapped on that end. But either way you slice it, if Russia uses a nuke, let's say, for example, there's been talks about Russia potentially using a nuke to eliminate I think it's some type of US base in Poland. If they were to do that, or if they use the nuke in any capacity, you're essentially saying that this is World War III. And I think Iran, who is very close to, you know, having their nuclear capacities complete, they would jump in. I think North Korea would be happy to jump in. And obviously at that point, the United States would have no choice but to jump in. So we're at a very interesting place, to say the least. Let me play this video.
President Putin has amended Russia's nuclear doctrine today to imply that if American weapons are used against Russian territory, which they now have been, that means that he is potentially in a nuclear confrontation with the United States. So what does that all mean? Well, the Russians have got a lot of nuclear weapons, 5,500 nuclear warheads, and it's more than the Americans have got, but they've got several thousand as well. What's more important is what are they deployed on? The Russians have got them deployed, about 1,700 of them, and again, that's only about 200 more than the United States. And they have them on a triad of land-based ICBMs, intercontinental ballistic missiles, ballistic missile-firing submarines, and aircraft that can launch.
So this is what Russia sent into Ukraine. The difference being is that it didn't have a nuclear warhead attached to it. But they're showing that they have the ability to use that and that they will use it and that they have them. This is some crazy times that we're living in.
Cruise missiles or whatever with nuclear warheads. So they've got about 1,700 deployed. And again, the United States is only about 150 behind that. Both sides have so many nuclear weapons they could destroy each other several times over. The land-based ICBMs are the most interesting and the most potent. And if we look at where they are, and we're looking at Russia here, but remember, this is always a mirror image. The Americans have got everything more or less the same as Russia. Their ICBM bases are in Russia, and those ICBMs would fly, if necessary, to America. Now, they won't go over the United Kingdom, because if this was a globe, they would go over the North Pole, as indeed American weapons from bases in Northern America will go over Canada, over the North Pole, into Russia. It takes about 20 minutes, and that's the time that one side would have to react to the other. And if we think about the ranges of these things, if we assume Moscow as a starting point, which it isn't because these bases are elsewhere, but if you just think of it, the range is about 6,000 miles. It can reach, the big long-range weapons can reach everywhere. And if we're talking about ballistic missile submarines, it could be in the Norwegian Sea, it could be in the Bering Sea, it might even be in the Atlantic. So potentially, Russia and America can reach each other, the whole continent, anywhere, at any time, more or less, in the world. That's what they've got. Now, the point about all of this is that this is the way it was in the mid-1970s, and it hasn't changed. Technically, it hasn't changed for 50 years. They've modernized their forces, but they're still basically structured in this way. What has changed is that the arms control regime that built up in the 1960s was quite powerful. That regime has been whittled away and is almost now non-existent. And so the arms control agreements that used to build predictability into all of this have now more or less disappeared, and that's what makes President Putin's statements more reckless these days than they were, say, a year ago.
I don't know what they thought from the perspective of Biden authorizing the use of these weapons. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I really don't. I don't get it. I don't get the strategy. What is the strategy? Somebody fill me in. What was it? What was the strategy here? I simply don't get it. This was interesting as well. This is from Al Jazeera. Let me play this. There was one part specifically. It was around, let me see. No, not this part. Hold on. Because he said something that blew my mind. I think it's this right here.
And the American ATACMS alone.
No, it's not this one. It's this one. I'm sorry. I was listening to this in the car and I was shocked. Okay, here we go. Right here. We're going to start right here.
Moscow. Let's continue this here in the studio. We've got Al Jazeera's defense editor, Alex Kotopoulos, to talk more to us about it. First of all, Alex, we often can get viewers lost in the alphabet soup of acronyms and weapon types. What is an ICBM and how is it different from other weapons or missiles that have been used?
So an ICBM is intercontinental ballistic missile. It's the longest range missile that exists on Earth, and they are strategic weapons. They're very expensive, they're highly developed, and they're used solely to deliver nuclear weapons. In this particular case, it's meant to deliver 4 nuclear weapons, each with the explosive power of about 10 to 20 times the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima. So that gives you an idea.
Just to clarify for viewers, we're not suggesting that they didn't have a nuclear warhead, right?
Yes.
Why would... I'm going to try and frame the question carefully and responsibly, but looking at it from a military perspective, was there a need to use the longest range missile on Earth, as you put it, and it's literally intercontinental? Or does it look like this was more of sending a message by using a very long range weapon, a message not only to Ukraine, but others supporting Ukraine much further away?
Very much so, not just a message, a warning. So this is only, because of its exclusivity in carrying nuclear weapons, normally sending something like that over. And by the way, this is probably one of the fastest moving things on Earth. It's going to come in at about 24,000 kilometers an hour. That's 20 times roughly about the speed of sound. That gives you an idea of just how fast this thing's moving. It will be virtually impossible to intercept. So the warning is very clear. We can hit your cities. You can't stop it. And we're implying a red line here. And this is obviously comes a day after British-made Storm Shadows absolutely were used on Russian soil, 12 of them. So again, designed to hit high-value targets, although these fly very close to the ground, a very, very different type of weapon. But yes.
And does this, when we look at the type of weapon, this represents something different from the ATACMS from Storm Shadow, right?
Yes.
So we're seeing this constant going up on the ladder of escalation?
Yes, we are. We are. Well, it started in response to Russia deploying allegedly North Korean troops in Kursk. Then President Biden allowed the use of ATACMS. And then we had this kind of tit for tat. President Putin lowered the use of nuclear weapons, the threshold for nuclear weapons, put that into law. And then landmines, and then storm shadows yesterday, and today in ICBM. And it's on a daily basis that this is kind of going up the escalation ladder.
A bit worrying, but thank you so much, Alex, for coming and breaking it down, making it a little more simple.
I want to show you something. Let me show you this. Matthew 10, verse 26. Have no fear. So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the dark, say in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim on the housetops. Verse 28. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both body and soul in hell. Are you not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them fall to the ground apart from your Father. But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore, you are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny before my Father who is in heaven. I butchered that a little bit, but here's the point. Do not fear those who can kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Put your faith in Jesus Christ. We're going to see escalation. We're going to see world war at some point. The Bible speaks about it. This is prophesied. This is going to happen. We're going to see it. When we're going to see it, who knows when exactly we're going to see it? You know, you can look at the Bible to kind of give an indication of what has to happen before certain things take place. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to see world war take place. We're going to see that, right? Put your faith in Jesus Christ. Despite what will happen on this earth, which is already spoken of, put your faith in Jesus Christ and you will be saved. Both soul and body, because we will be given new bodies in heaven, as the scriptures speak about. But if your sole focus is just here on earth and all your fear is being derived from what's happening here on earth, obviously you're not going to be in a good place, because the world is not headed in a good place. It's headed in a very disastrous, destructive place. And, you know, hopefully, I think Trump can come in and I think Trump can still negotiate peace in that region. But it's only a matter of time before it bubbles up again. You know what I mean? It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. So I'm smiling not because it's like funny or anything like that. Obviously, this is very serious. It's just it's just crazy that we've gotten to this point so quickly. And it just really shows you that things can turn in an instant. Let me know what you think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.